Hi everyone, this is Suraj. Today we are going to understand the benefits of using hooks in React. The topic is benefit of benefit of using hooks in React. Okay, so let's begin. So there is a term called hooks completely change how we react or write a React application. So basically hooks completely com- uh, completely change how we write the React application. Okay, so let's begin with what are hooks. So the hooks are a special function in React, special function in React that allow function component to use state, use lifecycle feature, and reuse logic. Use state, use lifecycle feature, and reuse logic. Common hooks are use state, use effect, use context, use memo, use callback. Okay, so let's take a benefit. Benefits one, no more class component. Okay, so before hooks, to use state, we had uh, we had to create class components. Now, function components can manage state, can manage state. Let's take an example. So, code are import React use state from React, and the function counter. They ask no parameters and they have some implementation called const of count, variable name, update function is equal to use state default value 0. Okay, and then they have return with button on click, the event happen. On click function set counter, current count plus 1. This function are executed. Button close, the button name, inside have counter, variable count, then button close and close it. And these are return. And if they have initial function, so export default we can use it. And inside the any React component, in any React code, we just use a counter. Cleaner and shorter. So this is cleaner and shorter. So let's take third point, benefit 2. Second benefit, better code readability. Reusability. Okay, so with hooks we can create custom hooks. So with hooks we can create custom hooks. Okay, let's take example. The function use counter initialize variable initial value parameter start. Inside this we just create a const of counter, set counter equal to use state default value initial value. Okay, and then we use const increment arrow function set counter, then count plus 1, then return the count and increment. Okay, so this they return two things: the function and count. So whenever they have call increment, they can use it like use counter dot increment. They increment with one value. Okay, this is another hooks we created, and so now multiple components can reuse this logic. Now multiple component can reuse this logic. This avoid duplication. Okay, let's take a benefit of three. Third benefit. Easier to understand. Okay, the class component had something called count constructor. They have constructor, restart to state, restart bind, lifecycle method. So hooks remove basically this keyword. Complex lifecycle structure. Code become easier to read and maintain. Read and maintain. Okay. So let's take another benefit, fifth benefit. Benefit of fourth. Improve lifecycle handling. Okay, so instead of component did mount, component did update, component will unmount. This type of functions, this type of lifecycle handling, we use just use effect, start with arrow function, assign variable console.log, component mounted, and then return function. We just use cleanup. Okay, and the function is closed. Arrow function is close it, and also the text parameter of array object. Use effect function is close it. All lifecycle logic in one place. They give you all lifecycle. They give you one place. Cleaner and more organized. This is more cleaner or more organized. Okay. So let's take benefit of fifth benefit. Benefit of 5. Better performance optimization. Okay, so hooks like they have use memo and use callback. Help prevent unnecessary rendering. This prevent unnecessary re-rendering. This improve performance in larger application. Okay, so let's take benefit 6. Benefit of 6. Sixth benefit, less boilerplate code. Okay, so function component with hooks. There is sorter, cleaner, more modern. Okay, so they have less repetitive code compared to class component. There is less repetitive code in compared to class component. Okay, so let's take a definition. So hooks are a function component to use state and lifecycle. Lifecycle features. So improve code reusability, through custom hooks. Okay, and they are reduced boilerplate code. Boilerplate code and make React application cleaner and easier to maintain. linear and easier to maintain. Okay, so let's take some best practice. So in modern React, always prefer function component with hooks. Class components are mostly used in Legacy project. Okay, so let's take a final thought. Hooks made React simpler, more powerful, more reusable. They now a standard way to build a React app. That is it about. Okay, so let's replicate it first. So the topic is benefits of using hooks in React. So hooks are completely change the how to write the React application. So what is hooks? Hooks are a special function in React that allow function component to use state, use lifecycle, reuse logic. Use lifecycle feature, reuse logic. Common hooks are use state, use effect, use context, use memo, use callback. Benefit first. No more class component we have. Before hooks to use state, we had to create a class component. Now function component can manage state. Example, import React use state from React. Function counter constant count.set counter is equal to use state of 0. Return button on click function set counter plus 1 and counter close none button close. These are cleaner and shorter. Benefits to better code reusability. With hooks we can create custom hooks. Example, function use counter initial value and the open count.set counter use state initial value const increment arrow function set counter count plus 1 return the count and increment. Incremental has a function properties and count as a value. So whenever we call use counter dot increment, they increment the set counter. They call the set counter and increment it. So now multiple component can reuse this logic. This avoid duplication. Benefit 3 easier to understand. Class component has constructor, this.state, this.bind, lifecycle method, etc. Hooks remove this keyword, complex lifecycle structure. Code become easier to read and maintain. Benefit 4 improve lifecycle handling. Instead of using component did mount, component did unmount, update, component did unmount, we use effect, open bracket, arrow function, console.log, component is mount. Then return console.log cleanup with arrow. Pass with array. All lifecycle logic in one place. They have cleaner and more organized. Benefits like better performance optimization. Hooks like use memo, use callback help prevent unnecessary re-renders. This improves performance in larger application. Benefits with less boilerplate code. Function component with hooks, they are shorter, cleaner and more modern. There is less repetitive code compared to class component. Definition. Hooks are functional component to use state and life cycle. Person, we should improve code reusability that through custom hooks. Reuse boilerplate code and make React application cleaner and easier to maintain. Best practice. In modern React, always prefer function component with hooks. Class component are mostly used in legacy projects. Final thought take. Hooks made with React. Simpler, more powerful, more reusable. They now standard way to build React app. That is the what.